And here the Ravens stand. There is no room for uncertainty right now. There is no room for doubt. The reality is the Ravens defense is who it is right now. And the bottom line is it's keeping them away from being a true contender in the AFC. We've seen that. And when the offense has a turnover on downs on the opening drive, 3 drops, all of which came on third down, and isn't running the ball with conviction and success, and that sets up for a day where you just finished with 24 points, you need your defense to go win you a ball game, particularly when it comes to in-division games. And Zach Orr's group was not capable of doing that on Sunday and hasn't really been capable of doing that all year long. Now, this hasn't been an issue all year long for obvious reasons. And why is that? Well, Todd Monken and Lamar Jackson have been cooking. And so while it's been a certain part of the conversation, well, remember what happened in Dallas, remember what happened in Cincinnati, those are both wins. But at the same time, it wasn't dissected as much as it has been now after a loss. And that's just the reality of life in the NFL. When you win, you're going to have more of a focus, more concentration around the other units that led to the victory. Ravens have an Achilles heel that they're dealing with right now. And you certainly wonder where Marcus Williams will go from here and how he channels this energy right now that's clearly frustrating him. Roquan Smith caught up with reporters, and Jamison Hensley transcribed part of his comments. He said, "We're going to be fine. There's a lot of outside noise, and there's a lot of adversity as well. But you cannot get rattled. We keep receipts at the end of the day. Just got to make cats pay for it when the time comes. We're going to be perfectly fine. We'll look back at this interview pretty soon, and you'll be like, you were right. So just trust the process. I have the utmost faith in each and every guy that's in the back seven, including myself, that we're going to get things done the way things need to be done." That from Roquan Smith. This from Kyle Hamilton.
To see it, because I feel like I'm one of the leaders in that room, and I feel like I kind of take a big part of the blame for that. Just guys not being on the same page and not executing, and obviously, especially if we had guys in the room that couldn't do it, it'd be a bit different story. But we got everything we could ever want in that room, so we know we have all the answers in the room. We just got to find them.
Kyle Hamilton, one of the defensive leaders, even though he is super young, all things considered. But Roquan Smith, who has had his shortcomings this year, has been a step behind, has struggled along with other members of this defense with alignment and space and defending tight ends, has not been good enough. But very confidently speaking with reporters, I'll read it once more for those of you who are just tuning into the live stream. We're going to be fine. There's a lot of outside noise and there's a lot of adversity as well, but you can't get rattled. We keep receipts at the end of the day. Just got to make cats pay for when the time comes. We're going to be perfectly fine. We'll look back at this interview pretty soon and you'll be like, you were right. So just trust the process. I have the utmost faith in each and every guy that's in the back seven, including myself, that we're going to get things done the way things need to be done. The defense has obviously not exactly been operating in a way that makes you feel comforted by his confidence. I appreciate his confidence, but until I start to see that come to fruition on the field itself, all 3 levels, I'm not sure that I can sit here and say that I feel good about it. I'm not saying Denver has an offense that scares you, but quite frankly, there was nothing scary about Cleveland's offense, and they had no problem hanging 29 on the Ravens last Sunday. Today is Wednesday. We're 6 days out from the trade deadline, 4 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday, November 5th. And the Ravens need to make another move. They need to bring in a pass rusher, somebody who can get home, somebody who can consistently alter the opposing team's quarterback, knock them off the spot, bring pressure, force them to check it down, force them out of the pocket, feel their presence. And while Kyle Van Noy still is one of the top 5 sack getters through 8 weeks with 7, tied with Trey Hendrickson, outside of KVN, who's been quiet in recent weeks after a blazingly hot start, the Ravens have more questions than they do answers up front. David Ajabo was a healthy scratch last weekend. Adafe Owe does not consistently get home. Doesn't have a full arsenal that makes you feel confident technique-wise from a pass rushing standpoint. Michael Pierce was just put on IR. The interior part of the Ravens defensive line has a lot of question marks right now. And that means that top-ranked rushing defense, at least the top-ranked rushing defense entering this past weekend, is going to be challenged. Brent Urban is dealing with a concussion. Travis Jones was hobbling around. When you go back and look at the film from Sunday in Cleveland, his ankle clearly limited him. He only played, I think it was only 20 snaps or so, if I'm not mistaken. And that's an area that has not been gashed, has not been tested all that much, particularly because a lot of these teams have been playing from behind, especially throughout that 5-game win streak for the Ravens. And so I think when you take a look ahead, there's got to be a priority set on bolstering the defensive front and bringing somebody in. If it's a Darius Smith, if it's a Calais Campbell, you got to do something. And I do have a note about the aforementioned former Raven, and Brian McFarland was all over this from the monetary side of potentially reuniting with Za'Darius, who's in Cleveland, of course. And Brian was answering Spencer Schultz on X and noted that both Calais Campbell and Za'Darius Smith are playing on a minimum salary of $1.21 million this year. Any bonus money paid by Miami and Cleveland, their respective teams, stays with them. So acquiring either would cost just $672,000 now or $605,000 after Sunday. Za'Darius is under contract in 2025 in Cleveland and does have an option bonus next spring, but none is guaranteed. In other words, that feels like it's open for business right there if the Ravens would want to reunite with either one of those guys. That would bring some stability to a group that needs it, that would bring some veteran experience, some familiarity with the organization and the scheme. KVN, don't get me wrong, Kyle Van Noy is a fantastic veteran presence. And 7 sacks at age 33 through 8 weeks of football on the contract that he's playing in Baltimore for, that's a win. But this is an area that the Ravens could easily, just as they did very easily with Deontay Johnson, they could easily pull this off given their cap situation.